In this Grasshopper tutorial, I want to talk about the Voronoi cell tool and explain how you can produce a Voronoi cell, as you can see here. And we will also take some steps to produce a smooth Voronoi cell. As you can see here, we can produce a smooth Voronoi cell, and by changing the points, the neighbors and the points, you can see that we can change this Voronoi cell or the smooth cell which we are producing here. So basically this tutorial will teach you how to use the Voronoi cell to produce geometry. Okay, to start from scratch, I'm going to first of all search for Voronoi cell in Grasshopper. You can double click and type VOR, and you can find this Voronoi cell here. And we can also go to the mesh triangulation, and you can see the Voronoi cell here. So what is a Voronoi cell? And let me just put the bifocals plugin here. As you can see, there are point, neighbors, and box to produce a cell. If you have worked on the Voronoi 3D, let's assume that we extract this box and set a box in Rhino. So this is going to be a box. Okay, so after defining a box, if we produce some points in that, so we can have multiple points. I'm going to give, okay, 4 is enough, and I'm going to move these points in the Z direction. So okay, if I give this to Voronoi 3D, you can see that there are going to be some Voronoi cells based on those points in the box. So when I change this point, you can see that the Voronoi 3D cells will update. So the Voronoi cell is exactly as the Voronoi 3D, but it has an option which you can extract only one cell. So if I want to, let me just bake this to explain it. Assume that we want to extract this cell. So we want to extract this cell, and we want this. So basically the center of this cell is the point. So assume that this is going to be the point. And the center of the neighbor cells are going to be the neighbors. So assume that this cell has this center, and we have 3 more points. So these points are going to be the neighbors. So the neighbors. Okay. So this is going to be easy. To produce the cell, we can simply define a point. You have to define one point, and you have to define multiple points as neighbors. So let's assume that we have the same box here, and give this box, and we need one point as the seed point for Voronoi cell. And you can also see that this is a seed point, so it's one point, and these are neighbor points, so they are multiple points. So let's give this 1 point, and I'm going to define this point and move this up. Okay, and after that we have to define the neighbors. So I'm going to extract this, and let's assume that we have maybe 4 or 5 points here. So I'm going to define 4 points here, and now I'm going to move these points so you can see this. Okay, I'm going to move this a little bit up, this one a little bit up, and you can see that this cell is produced. Maybe we want to add 2 points here, so we can go to the manage point collection and add 2 points. Okay, you can see that I have added 2 000 points, and let's just again click these and move these points in this corner, and move this one. Maybe this corner is fine. So you can see how we can define a Voronoi cell by defining the neighbors and the box and the base point of that cell. So if we give this to Voronoi 3D, you can see exactly this is the box, these are the points, and you can see that this is exactly as the Voronoi cell, but we are extracting the center of that. Okay. So after producing the cell, we can use this. You can also bake this on Rhino. Maybe you just want the solid, so you can use that. You can use a cutting plane here. So let's choose a clipping plane. We can also define a clipping plane, 180-degree rotation, and we can just cut this. Let's just make a copy. I'm using the Alt key and moving this up, so I can produce another copy of this clipping plane, a 180-degree rotation, and now we can squish this between two clipping planes and maybe use this as a building or something as we are designing this. So remember, you can also use the clipping plane to see your model between clipping planes. The next step I'm going to explain is how can we smooth this. So let me just move this a little bit, maybe give this a bigger face here, and that's fine, that's a better one. Okay, so you can download the Weaverbird plugin from the website, so I'm going to put the link in the description. So when you go to install the Weaverbird plugin, you can use these two sections. One is the window frame and one is the window. So what we're going to do is to connect the picture frame and the window to the cells. But as you can see, if I connect this, there's going to be an error because the input is mesh or a polyline. So what we can do here is to simply explode this cell, okay, and connect a curve to the faces. So that means the polylines of the cells, you can see here, okay. And if I bake this, you can simply see that this is going to be one of those polylines, and again this one. So the Weaverbird mesh window and picture frame is going to simply offset that. So let's just make a number here for the distance. And here you go, you can see that this is going to offset that. And what we need here is to make this a little bit smoother. So you can also use the Weaverbird Catmull-Clark subdivision here. So I'm going to use this one. Okay, use that 3 times. Let's see the mesh. I'm going to go to display and preview mesh edges or Control M. So yeah, let's use that and turn this off. So you can see that this is the smooth section of that Voronoi cell. We can also use the mesh thicken tool to give this a thickness if you want, maybe 1.25. This can also be a good design for conceptual architecture buildings, so you can also see this. There's a mesh. We can also again use the clipping plane, and let's just clip this a 180 rotation, and we can just, okay, so you can see that this can also be a building. So if you want the windows, we can simply, okay, make another smooth Catmull-Clark from the outer mesh, and you can see this is the windows. So I can bake this in one layer and bake this in another layer without thickening that, and you can see that this is going to be a complete mesh. Let me just put this into rendered, and you can see this is going to be a mesh. Okay, so to make those smooth edges, as you can see here, there is a little bit of a problem here. What I can do is to, first of all, increase this to 2 or 3, and then what I'm going to do is to combine these two meshes into one. So you can go to the Weaverbird and use this join mesh and weld, okay, and I'm going to use the shift key to give this to the mesh, and then I'm going to put the weld to true. So this is going to be a single mesh, and then I'm going to mesh thicken that. So this is the trick you can use, and we can give this a thickness Okay, to better see the mesh, use the Control M to hide this, and let's give a simple display custom preview to the cell, and we can give this a swatch, give this a color maybe. Okay, so you can see how smooth you can produce this. This is the thickness, so it's basically a little bit of a scale or something. This is how smooth you can make this. Okay, 3 is enough, and this is the offset. As you can see, when I increase that, okay, we have to increase the thickness for that to answer that. Okay, so you can also increase this and have a smooth mesh, as you can see here, and this is the results. Okay, so this is a mesh, and we can just put this to rendered and see that this is a smooth mesh. So you can also use this smooth mesh or simply have that cell, as you can see here, or use that to produce the Voronoi cell. So this is the tutorial about the Voronoi cell. If you have any questions about the Voronoi cell or any comments, put below this video. Thank you for subscribing, and feel free to ask us about tutorials you need or the questions you have about our Grasshopper tutorials, and thank you for watching.